Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and have kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitancy in your weight loss and in your weight maintenance. Today I'm going to talk about 2 ways to remedy some short-term weight loss inconveniences. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Check out my website, which has hundreds of articles and recipes, my 2 books you can find on Amazon, my 2 podcasts, The Awakened Man, which is very health related, as well as the Cinema Rag, which deals with movies. And lastly, if you appreciate my content, there's a link for PayPal. Now, what do I mean by inconveniences? Well, look, I talked about it in my series on Confessions of an Obese Child, my playlist when the details when I was overweight, how when I was losing my weight in high school, my mother kept all my clothes because she didn't think I was going to keep it off. And I totally understand. I mean, at that point in the early 90s, we didn't have the statistics and how common it was to regain weight that you lost. But she's like, well, you know, Gregory never succeeded before with the dietitian, so why would this be different? So, I mean, at the time, I'd be like, Mom, you don't trust me. But, you know, I can understand why, right? You don't want to spend money on clothes you don't have to spend. And I remember at the time, too, as I was losing the weight, you know, I had to become accustomed to this new body, and this new body was like Plastic Man, you know, the old I guess it's what, X-Men series where the guy can just stretch out. And that's what I felt about my 2. Those were 2 of my biggest hangups was like clothes and getting used to your body. And so as you're losing the weight, you might wonder, like, what do I do with my clothes? And how should I deal with body acceptance in this strange kind of middle school feeling? You know, middle school, it's like that awkward period where you're not an adult. It's essentially when you're in high school, you have an adult body. So you're in that weird growth spurt from, 10 to 13, 14, depending if you're a boy or a girl. It's interesting because in middle school, the girls are always taller than the boys, shoot up later. But it's an awkward time. So what can we do? Let's focus on clothes first. I would tell you, as you're losing the weight, clearly you don't want to keep wearing the clothes that you used to have because they're going to be really baggy. And you're going to try to get a belt to keep them tight, but it's going to look really funny. But at the same time, you're like, well, look, if my goal is to lose 50 and I've lost 25, I don't necessarily want to buy nice clothes at this midpoint milestone when I'm eventually going to have to buy more clothes again. Well, how do you remedy this? Thrift stores. I love thrift stores. I go to thrift stores all the time. Let me tell you, I love wearing nice pants, but I'm not going to spend $200 on Brooks Brothers pants. So what do? I go to thrift stores, and you can find great finds over there for like $3, $4. I love wool pants. I just like the way wool feels on the body. I also like seersucker. I like good quality cotton, and normally these are expensive things to buy. And if you go to a thrift store, you can buy these things for like $5, $6, $3, depending. So that's a good place to go. Go to the thrift store. That way you're not wearing the clothes that were too big, right? That you have to like hold up with like a cord. But at the same point, you don't want to spend a lot of money on brand new clothes. And if you go to the thrift store, there's good quality. Of course, you're gonna have to sift through it. Don't get stuff that's ratty, has holes in it. But if you go to enough thrift stores, you know what you're looking for. You buy a good quality one for $5, and that's like an interim cloth, interim apparel as you're losing more weight. And then when you get to your destination weight, then maybe if you want, then you can buy the brand name, never been worn stuff. But even then, I mean, to be honest, thrift store clothes, you just wash them. They're good. Now, I don't buy thrift store. This sweater is kind of old. I've had this forever. But I don't necessarily buy thrift store shirts. I'll buy thrift store slacks and suits. But yeah, I keep buying those things because, again, like, why am I going to spend $200 on something where I can spend $5? So think about thrift stores as you're losing your weight. So that way you can still get clothes that fit you, that are not too big or not too tight, because you still haven't gotten to your destination yet. But they're still somewhat fashionable. What else? So getting used to your body. So this could be hard because, you know, you were morbidly overweight, and then you want to get to a point where you're regular weighted, and then you're losing the weight, and then you notice like the stretch marks, and when you shake your body, maybe like I talk about my bloopy would shake 2 seconds after my body shakes. And of course, this takes longer to get used to. And I would tell you, focus on the positive. Yeah, you might have the bloopy, you might have the stretch marks, but at least you're not as overweight as you were before, right? So I mean, it's a metamorphic period, it's a transformative period, it's a transitional period. That if you just think, okay, I know I look kind of strange now, but eventually when I get to my destination weight, I'm going to look better. And then at that point, as I talked about with me, I still have vestiges of my obesity 30 years later. I still have stretch marks all over my body. I still have the bloopy. I chose in the 90s not to do surgery. What you choose to do is really contingent on you, contingent on your budget, contingent on how comfortable you feel with surgery, and contingent with how much post-weight loss sagginess you have. There are people who've lost weight that through just DNA, genetics, maybe cryo, maybe some things, you look at their body post-weight loss and you can't even tell that they used to be overweight. Then there's other people that have the flabby skin. You know, I see guys at the gym, at the shower, and I'll be like, hey, you used to be overweight, right? They're like, yeah, how'd you know? It's like, well, you know, because you can see the flaggy skin, the saggy skin. So it's really ultimately up to you. At the point of my life, I decided to keep it because I just don't want to go under the knife, and I was never really wealthy enough to even go under the knife. Even though that's not really an excuse. Even if I was wealthy, I just don't want to go under. I just don't want to have surgery when I don't need to have surgery for something elective. But ultimately, that is your choice, and that would be up to you. So, guys, in short term, in closing, when you think about these short-term things, think long-term. So when it comes to clothes, just go to a thrift store. If you want to keep, I would not keep your original fat clothes unless later on you want to take pictures of before and after. But if you buy thrift store clothes in the interim, in like the middle stages, then of course you could eventually throw those out if you want because they were very cheap. And then when it comes to your body acceptance, it's the same thing. Understand that this is a temporary period, and that eventually you'll get to where you want to be, and at that point you can decide what you want to do. But ultimately, remember, you've lost the weight, and now you just got to keep it off. Be positive, be optimistic, because how many people can't lose weight? And while you might have these first world problems with your body or with your apparel, ultimately remember that have some gratitude in that. Remember that you're in a great place. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.